Thank you. Welcome to all distinguished members here. I have divided this presentation into three important parts. Uh, as all of you are in academics and you are well aware about what are the leadership theories and how it works, so I need not to talk about that. I will be talking about with the data that why today critical leadership is very, very important. Why it is important that all leaders are manager, but all managers are not leaders. And in most of the organization, we have more managers, less leaders. This presentation explores leadership beyond the traditional views, emphasizing the importance of critical analysis in the leadership studies and involve the role of complex environment. More than a century has lapsed since the leadership became a topic of academic introspection, and definitions have evolved continuously during that period. I hope I am audible to everybody. Shall I continue?
Yes, sir, you are
Yes, sir,
audible,
you're
sir.
audible.
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
okay.
You are
Yes,
audible.
sir, you're audible.
It's important, and
Yes.
I shall request all of you, please stop me at any moment, any question if it is there or anything you want to ask. I will be happy to answer that. Now, when I come to the definition part, which always talks about influenced by many factors from the world affairs and the politics to the perspective of the discipline in which the topic is being studied. A seminal work done by Rost in 1991. He analyzed that the materials written from 1900 to 1990, and there was a finding of more than 200 different definitions of leadership. And his analysis provides a succinct history of how leadership has been defined through the last century. So I will go through quickly in 2, 3 slides the how it has evolved in the last century. Before that, I would like to talk on overview of it, that in the past 5 years have been the worsening trends. If we see the past 5 years across the conflict indicators, and more people had been killed and civilians increasingly targeted. Over 68 million people are now displaced due to conflict and persecutions, more than ever in the recorded history. At least 70 conflicts involve non-state actors, and a historic high, and an estimated of 151,000 people have been killed in the conflict in 2018. And the data also suggests we have entered into the storm of COVID-19 pandemic, and there was a general failure to coordinate the response. And all these perceived a shock of unprecedented proportion. Compared, already the damage has been caused after the World War II. It's very important to understand that leading in crisis can extremely be difficult and challenging. Managers who have led such a circumstances describe the experience and highly developmental and a benchmark in their professional careers. But what does the effective leader do in crisis looks like? That is important. There may be as many descriptions of leadership and crisis leadership and their executive coaches, leadership as a process of influencing in which manager interacts with the direct reports and others in the organization in a collective pursuit for a common goal and the shared goal. In this context, history has used to determine leader as a Alexander, Great, Julius Caesar, so and so very much. Now the new trend has rose to tell some stories in the term of deeper structural root cause, geopolitics, power balance, interest, globalization, and ideological conflicts. There is a definition which says that true leadership do not create followers, they create more leaders. And the data also suggests the need of the hour is that the latest research available on the global human capital trends, which indicates that 86% of the HR and the business leaders, they mention leadership as a critical issue, and have half of the respondents admitted leadership deficiency with respect to developing tomorrow's leader. And the report indicates that only 6% of the respondents believe that their leadership pipeline is ready. Whether you talk about the institution, you talk about the corporate, you talk about universities, only 6% responded believe that the leadership pipeline is ready. Now, out of 900 multinational organizations which was surveyed, and 52% were planning to expand their operations within the next few years, but only 16% reported having enough globally ready leaders to fill their critical roles. Now, at this point of view, I wanted to draw your attention that whether in the university or in the institution, in the corporate, in country, there is a lack of leadership which can lead us into the critical role. This is the need of the hour. And here I would like to emphasize that the Center for the Creative Leadership, CCL, has described leadership as a process of influencing in the manager where they interact. But a useful working definition of crisis leadership may simply be this ability to influence other. This is what, if we bifurcate critical perspective and leadership, we can see very clearly. And one of the very, very renowned leader reminds us that leadership is a distributive, relational, or collective process rather than solely a top-down phenomena. And Steve Jobs, as a role, sole genius behind the Apple success. And in a critical time, how he has come across the flying colors and how he has established a company with the high value product being sold, and still they are number one. The critical lens, if we see through it, we acknowledge, excuse me, any issue, sir? Shall I continue or shall I have any question if you want to talk?
Hey, please mute all of you, except resource person. Please, all of you mute. Okay, sir. Carry on, carry on.
Carry on, Shan. Thank you, sir. So I was talking about that what is the gap, what is the need of the hour for the critical leadership, and how renowned leaders have lead the world. All of us know that the critical point of view is something evaluating anything by taking into account the advantages and the disadvantages, the challenging presumptions. And also, this framework of view frequently entails questioning accepted wisdom and looking for more profound answers for the way the things are set up and operated today. Let us have an overview. I don't want to talk much about the leadership theory, not at all. I shall only go through the from 1900 to 2000, how leadership theory has evolved and what we can learn from them that constitute a very, very critical leader who can lead tomorrow. All of us know, and all of us are in the field of education and teaching. We know a great man theory, great man and trade theory, examining the historical evidences, born versus made. A debate is going on that leaders are not born, they are made nowadays. Uh, there is another approach, which is a modern approach. Now, this modern approach has an insight starting from the transformational, transactional to leadership, situational leadership, servant leadership, authentic, adaptive, spiritual leadership. But when we critically view, no single leadership fits in all situations. I will tell and explain after completion of how we started from 1900 to 1920 and 2000, and how the leadership theory has evolved. And then we will quickly have an understanding that you yourself can understand that how the today we lack authentic leader, today we lack transformational leader. Today, we need some sort of adaptive leader. No single leadership style will fit in the situation. So, when we start from the 1900, the definition of leadership was quite different. It was from traits to relations, shifting focus from inherent traits to the relational and ethical models, and adaptability, emphasis on the emotional intelligence, adaptability in the leadership, and then pandemic also supported a rise in the resilient leadership styles. This was the evolution of leadership thought. Let us see. Shall I continue? Any question to this? I would be asking after every two slides. If any question, any doubt, please let me know. If we have a dialogue, we can understand well this concept and there will be a collaborative understanding and study. I request all of you, please, if you want to talk, you can unmute and you can talk. Just an information I am giving you if you want. Now, this is what I was talking about, the seminal work which analyzed, which was written from 1900 to 1990, and more than 200 definitions are there. But still, we lack a definition which talks about how a leader can be effective in the critical situation. In 1900 to 1929, the first three decades, leadership was identified as an interaction of individual, specific personality traits with those of groups, and it was noted while the attitude and the activities, controlling and centralizing power was the more important. There, people used to control rather than facilitate or empower. And this was the theme of the dominance of the leader. And it was assumed the work done by More in 1927, the ability to impress the will of the leader on those led and induced obedience, respect, loyalty, and cooperation. This was the meaning in the first three decades of the 20th century. And this is very clearly mentioned in the More 1927 work. After the 30 years, trade became the focus, and with an emerging view of leadership as influence rather than domination. This trait, leadership, was also identified as a interaction. Okay, and in 1930s, the attitudes and activities of many may be changed by the one, and many may also influence the leader. It became the focus. Now, in 1940, after 10 years, the focus was defined as a behavior of an individual while involved in directing the group's activity. A very good work done by Hamflis in 1949. In 1950s, the three themes of dominated leadership definition during this decade was framed as what leaders do in groups, leadership as a relational and develop shared goal, which define the leadership based on the behavior of the leader, effectiveness in which leadership has defined. The continuance group of theory came, the leadership relational and development shared goals theory based on behavior was there, and then effectiveness in which the leadership is defined as the ability to influence. Now, these were the three basic. In 1960, if we can see the harmony amongst the leadership scholar prevailed, and they focus on the behavior act by a person which influence other person in a shared direction. till 70s, rose 1991. He explained that initiating and maintaining group or an organization to accomplish a group of organizational goals, they focused on this. Leaders are the person who initiate and maintain. And very nice work done by the Burns and Bass. They explained in 1978 and started working on the nature of the leadership. How leadership nature do as what leader wishes, influence, traits, transformation. And then transformation theory given by Bass and Avolio, they improving among the performance of the followers and developing the followers to their fullest potential, exhibiting the transformational leadership, which was often set of internal values and ideals. And they are effective at motivating, supporting, and also the self-interest. Now, this was something, a very, very important aspects of transformational leadership, which talks about the 4I. Any questions, sir? Shall we move forward?
Sir.
Is it fine?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. So shall we go ahead?
Yes,
No
sir.
issue.
Please.
No issue. Okay, fine, fine. See, I have an habit of interacting more because I have a setup of corporate. We don't have a one-way dialogue. We talk to the different aspects, and then we have. That's why I used to keep on talking after every two slides. If any question, please raise hand and have a discussion. Now, I was talking about what this idealize 4 I's. And this 4 I's has done miracle when it comes to the transformational leadership. Transactional leadership, management by exception, and then this transformational leadership has what you say transformed. And in the mid of 80s, Bass and the other, they provided more expanded and refined version of transformational leadership, and it was based not fully on and consists with the proper work by the Burns in 1978 and Robert House in 1976 about the followers. Now it talks about the 4I. I hope everybody is aware about this 4I. I did not to explain anything on this 4I. Rather, I would like to talk about the one example of the different leaders like Nelson Mandela or the one of the very good example of given by many others, Martin Luther Jr. too. They all wear the transformational leader quality they have. This is called the factor 1. And this is a charisma. It's called an idealized influence, is a charisma, which Antonakis in 2012 has explained about. The idealized influences describes the leader who set a strong role model. So in critical situation, it is important to set a strong role model. And any issue, sir? Any issue, any question? I will be happy to answer.
So regarding this intellectual stimulation,
Yes,
can
yes.
you explain?
Sure. Very, very, very true. So intellectual stimulation is all about, see, intellectual stimulation is the 3 I. I remember it like an I, 3 I, which includes own beliefs and values as well as those of leaders and the organization. Now, this type of leadership supports follower and they try a new approaches to develop the innovative ways dealing with the organization issue. For example, this type of leader is a plant manager. For example, I am giving a plant manager is a type of a leader which is trying to exhibit the intellectual stimulation, who promotes workers' individual efforts to develop a unique way to solve the problem, and that have caused slowdown in the production. A plant has a production slowdown, and the manager is trying to engage carefully into the problem solving. And this is a unique way of solving the problem, trying to stimulate the intellect part of their followers and come to the problem solving situation. Am I clear on this?
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay. And then individualized consideration is also the 4I of transformational leadership, is called a supportive climate. Okay. An example of this type of leader is a manager who spends time treating each employee in a caring and a unique way. To some employee, the leader may give a strong affiliation to others, and the leader may give specific directives with a high degree of structure. For example, Nagaraj sir is the head of the institution of, suppose, a MNC company, just for an example. And he finds that some of his team member is not 100% up to the mark, may be facing some problem. So Dr. Nagaraj is spending some time and treating the employee with utmost care, with individualized consideration, so that it gives a specific directives, and that employee also feels very happy. Oh my God, the head of the institution has come to my cabin and he is helping me and giving me directives and supporting me. This will change the mindset of the followers, and he will tomorrow be a great leader. He will work beyond the result you want, because he has understood that I have been treated as a very special person by the head of the institution. I should perform. Now, this is my ownership to do it. So, this example of a leadership, a manager who has spent time and treating each employee in a caring and a unique way. There is one transactional leadership where the relationship is not that much, what you say, stay for a long time. As long as the work is over, the transaction is given. Do this, perform this year 100%, you are promoted. After the promotion, that relationship doesn't last. But in transformational leadership, as I gave you, that charisma and the inspiration and intellectual stimulation and idealized consideration, all these four types of behavior of a leader will have a long-term relationship, and he will always remember that leader, and he will try to become a role model for that. I hope I have made my point
Sir,
clear. Any
sir,
questions?
I'm having one
Yeah, please, sir. Please,
doubt.
please,
What
please.
about that physical appearance? Physical appearance.
Uh,
Suppose if the person is 6 feet tall, white skin, very good look. So then, is it not considerable under this concept?
And this individualized consideration.
Yeah, individual considerations is okay, sir. In some extent, sometimes the physical appearance is also directly influenced.
It happens for some time, but sir, you are right. Today we are in. I hope you understand. I have mentioned here biopic, by BPOC leadership. We'll come to that, sir. Very valid question. I was expecting this question from
Okay,
you.
okay,
I
okay,
was
okay.
expecting this question from you.
Yes, thank you.
Let me explain you that the physical personality work for some time, but it doesn't last forever. Okay. Because today things have changed. Trait is, or the physical personality is one thing which gives the first impression, but slowly, when it comes to the expected outcomes, only the intellectual stimulation and individualized consideration will have a better edge. There are many tall, big, strong people, like we have today a good personality. Don't underestimate me. We have Donald Trump today. Tall, big, white, speaking abruptly, whatever he want to speak, because he has the power. how many followers are there? A lot of critics are there across the world about him. Just it came to my mind. I am not against him. I just giving that the way of the leadership he is doing. The way he talks, which exhibits that with the arrogance, with the ego, the followers will not accept that. And he cannot create leaders. If anyone has to create a leader, he has to have these four eyes. I consider it as a four eyes. If one is having this four eye, I am sure he is going to create a wonderful, strong, critical leader in this situation, with which he will have a performance beyond the expectation, unlike transactional leadership. Okay, you publish 10 papers, 20 papers, we will give you 10,000 rupees. You do this, we will give you 20,000 rupees. And once this amount is reduced, that motivation comes down. But when a institutional leader induces this four eye, with the help of this four eye, he tried to inspire and motivate. He tried to, the situation is quite different. Like in idealizing influence, the good example is that it measures two components. One is uh, attributional component that refers to the attribution of the leaders made by the followers based on the perception, and they have their leaders and behavioral component which refers to the observation of the leader behavior, in essence the charisma factor. So what sir was telling, if a person is tall, big, and I think some charisma factor will be there, but a person who's leading an exemplary charisma factor. I remind you, sir, one personality in the world, Nelson Mandela, the first non-white president of South Africa. Mandela is viewed as a leader with the moral standards. More than 28 years he was in a prison. And that 28 years, 26 years or 25 years, he was in a rigorous imprisonment. Even then, his moral standards, his vision, his mental change has resulted how the people of South Africa should be governed. And his charisma qualities and the people's response to them has transformed the entire nation. Nobody had thought that the apartheid will be abolished. So because of this charisma, the idealized influence, they should have a high moral standards and the vision. This is one. When it comes to motivation, the second I, the good example for this second I is a kind of a team spirit has to be enhanced. In practice, leaders use a symbols and emotional appeals to focus the group member efforts to achieve more than they would in their own self-interest. So an example of this will be, sir, that a sales manager who motivates his members and encourages with the words and talk with the clear communication, it is an integral role they play in the future growth of the economy. So if a person has got a good personality, but if they lack in these qualities, encouraging, motivating, or having a personalized understanding with a clear communication, that personality will not work. But if this personality, what Nagaraj sir said, is embedded with this quality, with the inspirational motivation, definitely this will work. I hope, sir, I have answered your question. Sir, are we connected? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Are we connected?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. So, Nagaraj sir, I hope I have answered your question.
Yeah. Thank you. Okay.
Okay. Thank you, sir. And then, as I told you, so this is one type of leadership in the critical role can work efficiently. This is one. The another which we'll be discussing more in 21st century, what happens, sir? There was a debate and it continues as to whether leadership and management are separate process But the emerging research emphasized that the process of the leadership and the emerging leadership approaches are this is the modern authentic leadership, spiritual leadership has emerged, servant leadership, adaptive leadership. These many leadership definition has emerged in the in the 21st century. Let me talk about one very, very important, because today authenticity of the leader is very, very important. If the leader is authentic, and for example, I give you authentic leaders are those leaders which learn from their critical experiences. They have the psychological, what you say, especially they have the psychological understanding about that. They have a positive psychological capacity and moral reasoning and critical life events. One example I remember of Howard Schultz. He is a founder of CEO of Starbucks. You will be surprised to know that when he was child, his father was a delivery man, and he died off because he could not get proper health, and he was not having the health insurance as well. He got sick and he could not recover from them because he lacks in the insurance facility, and he died. When the Howard was small, when he saw his father dying because of the lack of health insurance, you will be surprised to know that when he grew up and when he started Starbucks, he has made the mandatory that any employee who is working for more than 20 hours in his company will have a comprehensive coverage of health. Now, this has come from the critical life event, because authentic leadership is having two important aspects. Positive psychological capacity, it means he is having a confidence, hope, optimism, and resilience. These are the four important related to positive psychological capacities and moral reasoning embedded with the critical life events. And that's why today we need a leader who has gone through that trauma and that can understand the critical situation. And really, it was very, very stunning to me when I heard, when I read this story that he had done compulsory, comprehensive health care for a children because of this critical event. George, has who has invented this, what you can say, the authentic leadership, have a genuine desire to serve others, and themselves they feel free to lead from their core values. They understand others, they have a strong values and the right thing, establish trusting the relationship with the others, which is very, very important. Again, a very strong set of value, Nobel Prize laureate Nelson Mandela has got. Mandela was a deeply, deeply moral man with a strong, concise. We can take a very good example of our country. Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi has got this what you say, strong conscience of a moral man. He was having that while fighting, and like Nelson Mandela abolished apartheid in South Africa. Similarly, we can consider Mahatma Gandhi as a Nelson Mandela of India, and unyielding his pursuit of justice and equality for all when he was in prison. So finally, George advocates. George, who has found this authentic leadership, became the moral, more purposeful, value-centered, relational, and self-disciplined. Compassion is one of the essence to this. So if a leader who has got compassion, moral value, self-discipline, relational, these type of authentic leaders can lead very, very delicately in the critical situation. Then we have a spiritual leadership, servant leadership. and then adaptive leadership. There are so many. I don't wanted to have a lecture on this, because if you have any doubt, I can clarify it. We should move forward and see what are the key leadership principle which has been critically examined. I hope I am going in the right direction. Do you have any question on this, or shall I move forward? Now, shall I
It's
move?
no questions.
No. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Now I am going to the second part of this. What do you say? This lecture. This presentation. See, key leadership principles have to be critically examined. One is the vision and the integrity. Today, integrity is the big issue. After the setback of many big organizations like World.com or Enron or Watergate scandal, which happened at the time of Nixon, integrity is one of the important aspects embedded with the vision. So, a critical leader who can lead us should have a core of effective and ethical decision making in leadership. This is one. Second, the fundamental cornerstone of today's modern leadership success is the emotional intelligence. And I hope everybody know this emotional intelligence. It is just to make an understanding that it is a combination of two competencies. If a person has got two competencies, he can be known as a emotionally intelligent. One is the personal competencies and social competencies. Very clearly, I have mentioned also here the personal competencies can be the confidence level, the self-regulation, self-awareness, conscientiousness. This is also one of the factor of the five factors are there. One of the factor for leadership and motivation. And then second is social competencies, which consist of empathy, very, very important. Today, we are unable to empathize even with our neighbor. We are unable to empathize with our colleague. We have a sympathy. Or sympathy, we have a pity on them. It's not good. We should empathize. This has somewhere lost in this material world. Social skills, communication, and conflict management. So, a critical leader who has got the emotional intelligence embedded with the personal competencies and consists of the self-awareness and good communication, conflict management, could be a leader who can lead in the critical situation. For this, we can talk about how they mobilize and how they talk to their followers. And then there is a classical limitation of examining the traditional theory in today's complex world. Sorry. Emotional intelligence, a very good work done by Salovey. This is called Mayer, Caruso, and Soloway. This is the one scale. Intelligence test was developed by the scholar. It's called an emotional intelligence set of mental abilities, and including the abilities to perceive, to facilitate, to manage the emotions, to understand. And emotional intelligence can be defined as as the ability to express the emotion and perceive it, to use the emotions to facilitate thinking and with the emotions, and to effectively manage one's relationship with others, which is very, very important. So this is one aspect, the vision integrity, which can be critically examined when it comes to the critical leader. It should have emotional intelligence. These are the aspects which I wanted to express about the critical leadership. Any question on this? Shall we move forward? Or we can have some understanding and story related to the crisis leadership is a special case today, in which there's specific tools of influencing, perform a critical role in a crisis. Timelines are more critical, then there isn't it a much time for reflection, for rapid decision making, and higher call to the action is the norm. I remember one very good example given by the what you say, a book in the book called Leadership in Organization. There is a one book, Leadership in Organization, written by Gary Yuke. He has listed several influencing tactics that the people commonly use. Among these, he includes ingratiation, exchange, quid pro quo, coalition, inspirational and personal appeals, consultation, legitimizing and pressure. See, I was talking about one very good example. What happens today in most of the time? Using pressure and micromanagement to achieve the result can have a negative impact. And this is very much prevailing in most of the organization, in institutions, in universities, in corporate as well in some organization, such as checking frequently on the direct reports progress with these specific assignments. It looks like that we are policing our people. We are policing them. You make a people, they should police themselves. So, using pressure and micromanagement to achieve the result can have a negative impact during the best of the times, and especially during the crisis. When it comes to the crisis, your follower will never help by heart. It will not work by heart if you have a tendency of pressurizing and micromanagement rather than facilitating and empowering. On the other hand, the personal appeals based on the legitimate relationship between manager and the direct reports can also bring result and more effective during crisis. So if you want to have a good result during the crisis time, the only way is to have a personal appeal. You should talk to your team members based on the legitimate relationship between manager and the direct reportees, and they will understand. So each skill, trait, perspective is useful tool for the leading during the crisis. So that's why sir was mentioning person have a trait or having inherent quality can be effective, but he should be embedded with certain perspective and skills. There are even more effective than the integrated into the single crisis leader. And the leadership in organization, this book written by Gary Yuke has mentioned 8 capabilities of a crisis leader. You can go through that book also. I just quickly I'll just read out. I'll just explain. The first, he talks about communication. A well-honed communication strategy is the essential and critical to any organization before, during, and after the crisis situation, both the time. But there are also personal communication. Skilled leaders can sharpen to make themselves more effective in those situations. Those skills include clear and articulate verbal expression that takes into account tone of voice, choice of words, a tempo of the speech that works very nicely. So these all will come under emotional intelligence when you can understand the social aspects, or you can understand the when you have empathy in you, your communication will automatically will go in this direction, that you will have a clear articulate verbs, you will have a and another is very careful listening that involves appropriate eye contact. So the communication meet a great emotional need and need And I remember, I give you one example, the monumental task faced by the Winston Churchill during World War II. He was able to maintain and even boost the moral of the British people during the London Bridge, largely through his oratory skills. He was a great orator, Churchill. Fight against the Nazi people. And his communication met a great emotional need in the British people who wanted to know the things were going to be fine, regardless of how bad the situation appears. So these examples we can learn from these examples and these leaders how clear vision they have, having a clear vision. So clear vision is the second ability Gary tells in his book. Third is caring. I remember one example of Aaron Frostine, the CEO of Malden Mills of Lawrence. When a fire burned his production plant to the ground on December 11 in 1995, he declared in the parking lot during the fire, "This is not the end." He then spent millions of dollars keeping all 3,000 employees on the payroll with the full benefit of over 3 months. Now, in this critical situation, how people are behind them? I remember one incident in India which happened in Bhopal when that one factory, that cyanide factory, people died, and the owner all around flight from there and came to India. He was arrested also, but he was having a courage to come and talk to the people because people has died in his organization. He should not run away. He should face. Later he was released, but he came directly with a surprise, like what the when the this Furstin, CEO of Malden Mills of Lawrence did. So you should have a caring attitude, clear of vision and values. Okay. I remember many organizations which I also work during the COVID, they have not done the layoffs. Rather, they ask the people to work from home and do some work so that we can keep rolling our other works. They made some training programs and they engage their people how we can have a best situation in the crisis, and they have not given the layoff. Many company has done it. So communication, clear vision, caring. There are five more which I remember. Like one is personal example, one is character. Correct. See, this trait of conscious moral behavior will define when no one is watching. At a minimum, character implies telling the truth. Okay, and this is what the another is competence. The third is courage, what I was talking about. It takes a high measure of courage and to the people to talk when the given leaders failures and a scandal among the few corporates, the giant during 2001 and 2. The courage is not only the common trait. Courage is something you should face the situation and you should not run away from the situation, because critical leader, they face the situation. The courage to display. Now I remember in December 98, a chemical release at the Union Carbide insecticide plant in Bhopal killed, I remember, around 4,000 people. The exact data is more than 3,500 to something, but I don't remember. And more than 10,000 people were disabled. This was the figure. And the CEO name was Warren M. Anderson. Yes. Warren M. Anderson flew to India and he was arrested by the Indian authorities. But Anderson example to demonstrate that the senior leader should have a courage to travel to the site and the crisis, despite of almost guaranteed that there will be a negative response they will receive. Even then, he stand by them, and then he has whatever was there he announced, but he has a courage to stand and talk that it was our fault. Then decisiveness, very, very important. See, taking tough decision is very, very important. Sometime it will have that, no, what we are doing, it is harming us. But in the long run, the tough decision always helps. In crisis, even a wrong decision will promote an action better than doing nothing. So influential decision making. One another example, I remember the General of the Army with D, I don't remember his exact name, during the World War II. The original plan for the D-Day invasion of Normandy included a drop of 3 airborne divisions onto the peninsula. And their mission was to provide security for the alliance. And the British Air Marshal Trafford and opposed the airborne drop because he felt it was unnecessary and would result more than 50% casualty. He further believed that the entire D-Day mission could fail because of this excessive loss. And Eisenhower asked the air marshal to put his argument opposing his airborne assault in writing. And after airborne assault succeeded, the decision was the reasoning. So the lesson in this example is that in crisis, leader will require to make many difficult decisions and high impact decisions. They cannot shy away from that. And there are many other skills which in the critical perspective, leaders can develop. I wanted to explain one very important thing. We should understand that what consequences happens when we use power and the type of power the leader used, and most likely the response from the followers come. When we use our expert and referent power, more of commitment. So this expert power or referent power will give you commitment. When you give reward and legitimate power, you use compliance will be there. But the lot of resistance come when you have a coercion. Leadership and coercion is another topic today to discuss. We should avoid resistance. The more resistance will come, the less result we will have. So we can use these 4 powers depending upon in what situation we want it. Shall we continue? Or do we have any break for the audience?
Sir, we will
Yes,
continue
sir.
till
Continue, sir.
No issue?
Till
Yeah.
11:15, sir.
11:15. Okay, another 15 minutes we can continue. Okay, fine. Now, what are the contemporary challenges and the leadership adaptation? Any question, I will be very happy to discuss, because when question comes, I can also give my 100%. And if you, I have tried to not to make you bored, because this is a very, very theoretical aspect, but with the help of a lot of examples, we can understand, we can envision ourselves how we can move forward. Now, today, global complexity is there, and there is a technical shift. There is organizational complexity. We should have a flexible approach. We should have a context-driven leadership strategy, and equity and inclusion. Critical leader always address the power dynamics, the inclusion, the equity. So contemporary changes and leadership adaptation, it's very important today that the global complexity should be there, because we should understand the things are changing. Today, tomorrow, most of the work will be done by the AI. So today, the critical leader should learn all AI aspect that can help us for the better result, because organizational is moving into a complex stage where taking result is not very easy. And flexible approach is very, very important. We should not be adamant with the one situation. We should always welcome any awkward answer which may have innovation. So we should have a flexibility approach, equity and inclusion, very, very important. Then these are the examples of the critical leaders in practice today. Now, I was talking about BIPOC leadership. I hope everybody know this. What is this BIPOC? I'm sure. Black starts with the black. Today, we have this very, very importantly to understand. Social change is going on. Social change is going on, and it is driving to identifying includes Black or African American individual. I is for individual. Native American indigenous people and people of Asia, Latin America, or specific islander descendant. See, this black means the people of African descent were from the continent of the diaspora. I is for indigenous. P is the people of color. And we have the, what you say, the term is very, very beneficial to use more specific language. Today, we need a global leadership. Today, we should not have a prejudice and ethnocentrism. Okay, the term BIPOC leadership is used to highlight the specific historical ongoing experiences of racism and discrimination faced by the Black and indigenous people. Again, I will remind the Martin Luther King too, the kind of speech he used to give, and the kind of the conviction he has, and he faced the Black and indigenous people while also recognizing the shared experiences of other people of color. And it is important to acknowledge that while BIPOC is a useful umbrella, emphasizing the collaboration and driving the social change, it can also beneficial use for more specific language when discussing the unique challenges and identities with these community. I talked about the resilient leadership. I also talked about how we can demonstrate empathy, active listening, resilience during the crisis. I remember from my experience in my work, when I was promoted and I was sent to the different location, I got a team of a very, very unionized team, and the performance was not coming. And I was given a task that you have to come as a flying color and the performance has to come back. I did nothing. I had a meeting with my team members and I only asked their strengths. I said everybody is having demerits and merits. Let us don't talk about what demerits we have. What are your strengths? And I jotted down that strength, and whenever I go into that territory, I only focus on the strength. Okay, you have a strength of a good communication. Can you convert this doctor for writing your program, your product? Can you do this work? Someone was having a good relationship with the customers and the stakeholders. Can you utilize this? So I worked on this. I showed a sense of listening to them, empathizing with their issues because they were having a lot of issues. And then after 2 years, we came back as a flying color. The territory started performing because that was the crisis time. So today we have to be a leader of resilient while demonstrating the empathy, actively listening them and addressing their issues, which is very, very important. Then empowering, as I told you, the days are gone when we used to control our team members that you have done this wrong thing. Why we should not penalize you? Either you perform better. This will not work in today's context. Empowering leadership, empowering your team member is very, very important. There you have to sometimes challenge the system. You have to support empowerment. You have to create the equity. So these are the examples of the critical leadership in practice. Moving forward, these are the emerging leader style post-pandemic. New skills have been developed. Collaboration is become a key center. One cannot perform well. A CEO cannot do 100% unless his directors and the managers and the people downline working. For that, collaboration is needed. And empathy is the paramount. As I have a one, what you say, video to show you on empathy. If time permits, we'll show you the video. Performity clarity, critical performity. Performativity. Performativity means here the reflective practices or the leadership collectiveness is very important. Leadership education, focusing on cultural relevance, focusing on the sustainability is very, very important. See, effective crisis leader can rescue an organization from chaos and deliver opportunity where before there are not only disadvantage. Organization that successfully handle crisis situation can come out of them stronger with the greater employee, customer, community loyalty existed prior to the benefit. Okay, and in their search, they should look to the human elements, emotions and behaviors and reactions that affect affected by the crisis and can influence its outcome.